Greetings and salutations, you absolutely gorgeous individuals. It is another epi of Liga. Eric and Mark here with you today to break down what is, of course, a recurring thing of marquee matchups in the LPL and LCK with, of course, these fun little Legends and Rise formats. And I will say we've got improvement, progress out of Hanwha Life because they didn't get completely smashed by T1. But is it more painful to lose this series in the fashion that they did when you were in the driver's seat, had leads, looked in control of both of these games?
I think, yes, the answer has to be that it is more painful for Hanwha Life, and the pain only continues so far. This split for them hanging out with this top tier, the elite half of the LCK, specifically with squads like Gen G and T1. And you saw that on the day. We get to see T1 dish out some of that pain, some of that damage that we know these two top teams in the region are able to do. A lot of hope maybe, and kind of some strategy changes expected seeing into this matchup that could have had Hanwha Life throw themselves right back into that competition, right into that ring with the T1, with Gen G. I think we're stepping away from this feeling even worse about Hanwha Life at that point, despite having a little bit of that pushback, a little bit more of these signs that you want to be seeing and checking in with against a team of the caliber T1 and Gen G are showing so far.
And of course, we're going to be drawn, and everyone's going to talk about the pause moments in Game 1, the bug that's actually a feature because it's a known bug of Zeus TPing to a ward, but he doesn't have room to land, so he's on the wall behind and has to run around. I don't know if that really game-deciding team fight plays out any differently if he goes by the ward, because he basically gets as good of a fight on the Jax as he can. He gets a 3-man stun, I think, and delays time with the double Zhonya's with the Bard ulti, and they're still not able to win that fight. So if he's there 2 seconds earlier, I don't think he gets a better engage.
I don't see it changing the complexion of how, again, things played out. You're right that it is almost one of these things where even still you are able to get more or less the maximum output that you could have had in that fight, even without that change. I understand the frustration because actually any of these type of bugs happening in that type of moment, regardless of the severity of it, will be frustrating, will be a thing, that little question mark that can remain. And, having it mean so much against a squad like T1 and the stakes being as high as they are for what is, again, just a regular season type of matchup at the end of the day, does feel unfair and harsh for the side of Hanwha Life. But again, seemingly is the world that we live in within Riot Games, where we can have one of these known bug features type of thing.
It's such a cop-out to be like, well, yeah, but that was a known bug. We told you about it ahead of time. It didn't fix the bug then. What do you mean?
Nobody is going to feel good with that type of answer, and never mind adding in that you got to get right back out there for Game 2 against T1 in that type of situation down in the series. Not going to be a good feeling for Zeus and the rest of Hanwha Life.
And that didn't show signs of that early on, and especially you go to this Otacon fight where T1 gets the buff, but it ends up being an ace for Hanwha, and again, we're talking about a 4K plus gold lead. You should be in control of this game, and it's a couple of maybe whoopsie fights in the nexus or in the base of T1, and especially we got to highlight Viper gets so fed on the Corki in this second game, and we're so used to seeing Viper get a lead like this, easily carry the game, but this one fight around the bottom inhib in T1's base, he's dashing in to try and kill Guma, flashing in, doesn't get it. It's a brutal fight out of Viper.
A very, very poor fight, and it's one of those ones where, again, it's split second decision making that you're judging off of these type of ones, and looking back in hindsight, or in that different position than being the one in the seat playing the character and stepping away from it and having that high analysis available. You can make those choices. Viper is someone who's usually always nailing those type of ones. So to see that come through was painful. And especially, I think, in the recent couple of games, couple of weeks, that we have been able to see a squad like Gen G. You've seen the flex of that Corki power for someone like Chovy and Ruler, and how they're able to deal with it, how they're able to manage it as that prime damage option. Didn't see that respect, didn't see that awareness, I think, from Viper in this series. And on the flip side, you add in, I think, game 1 and especially the game 2 from Gumayushi. He was really outshining his counterpart on the other side of the rift.
Well, you're talking about 2 of the really 3 main fights. Guma's surviving with like sub 100 HP. Eventually, Doran's ghouls are cleaning up some of these fights. But then, yeah, the fact that the period, exclamation point, and question mark of the series ends with Guma dodging around a blitz hook and then, 100-0ing Delight with the culling and then dashing in a 1v3. The pure confidence that this guy has in his ability. I know he has a Guardian Angel in that last fight, but that's Guma in a nutshell, and that's how T1 closes out the series.
Knowing where that line is. Doesn't matter how close you're getting towards that line of how far you can push it, but if you can keep it before there and get that maximum value, someone like Gumayushi is one of the best in the business that we see be able to push forward and bring that confidence to the role for T1. And I think you gotta be going crazy about this one because, again, you deliver a performance like this, and all I can think of is why were we ever dealing with the drama, the conversations about, is Guma the starting ADC for this T1 option? There is no question in my mind after performances like this that he is undoubtedly the best option moving forward for T1. I can't believe we had to deal with any of that throughout this year.
That drama feels like it was 2 years ago at this point. It's crazy that it was in 2025 that we did have that carousel. Really feels like a distant memory. It's a distant memory that BLG, we're losing a series to AL despite falling on the back foot against Weibo after a 50-minute banger that Bin almost got them back into this game with a miraculous Gwen base defense and kind of a 2v4 setup. But Weibo comes away with that first game, but BLG holds strong and bounce back.
They do bounce back in this series, and it is an important one that we check in with them for the LPL because, again, we're seeing an anyone's legend return to that form that they have been at that champion tier. We've seen an Invictus Gaming rise up through the LPL and show that they can be one of these third other options at that top tier that we're looking at. Can BLG reinsert themselves, restate that they are one of those elite squads in the LPL? We need to start seeing those performances. This is a good start against a squad like Weibo, who we have known to, be able to be one of these tests, be that type of benchmark that we look at within the LPL for these competitive squads. And for BLG, finding a way to get through this series after dropping that first game. Happy to see that from them, and happy for your boy Shadow, making sure that it's still maybe the extension, the extra deadline added on through for the honeymoon phase of him as the new jungler for this BLG squad. Saves it in this game, comes up with the big time clutch steal of the Otacon.
Yeah, it's you're at the resort and they say we'll give you 50% off if you extend your stay. That's where Shadow got on that Otacon steal. But even in game 2, we got to highlight Zhao, who had an insane Silas performance that wasn't enough to get them a win. But we saw from both him and on like multiple 4-5-man Nico ultis on both sides coming through, and it was nothing clean from either side about these first 2 games at the very least. The Otacon steal was kind of the final nail in this third game, but it did get off the rails very quickly. Elk had a masterclass performance on Jhin, and Knight in this final team fight, the Chaos Storm out of Victor. I don't know if I've ever seen a more disgusting take up your whole screen Victor ulti in a game.
It's certainly become something else, I think. And I remember back, remember when we could have Aurelion Sol make his Q, the entire,
the entire map, basically, yeah.
He had to fly the whole way across to get there and this type of thing. Victor's just hitting that button now, and it is almost that full Chaos Storm ultimate coming through onto your screen. When I'm stepping away from this, I think you're seeing that high end, right? That high end skill, the high end potential, the high end of these big time 5-man ultimate type of things coming through. And respectively from both sides, with both Weibo and BLG finding their moments in this. But are you truly stepping away and coming away going, yeah, amazing play, this was fantastic, or whatever? Or are you not stepping away from it going, yeah, those high-end plays are to the level that we see from the LCK, from a Gen G, from a world champion in T1? But do you see those mistakes that you saw within this series, those little hiccups and moments where the opponent gets an angle, has an opportunity? I don't think you see those same type of failures on the side of these top teams right now in the LCK. And that is that one little hiccup, that one holdup that I have with getting over the moon about these LPL teams that are impressing, that are improving, is holding on and waiting, knowing that is the damage, that is the limit test that you will have to pass at the World Championship.
And that kind of is the MO of the LPL, is even the best of the best teams from the best eras. We're making these mistakes. We're going a little bit too far. We're throwing some of these matches. That's just the differing in play styles. But absolutely, the LCK is at another level of not making these mistakes right now. You alluded to anyone's legend getting back on track. Specifically, Tarzan got back on track on the day. From the very get-go in this first game against IG, he's invading red buffs level 3. When you have a busted pick right now like Pantheon, you absolutely saw Tarzan kind of pilot that early, mid, and late game to perfection.
And there is nobody I want on Pantheon more right now than your boy Tarzan, finding a way to make sure that that champion is utilized, is pressured, is advantageous for his squad. I think a little disappointed at the end of the day when you're viewing this one with how much rising stock was being put in towards Invictus Gaming and how they were improving and how they were showing that they could be one of these top tier teams within the region of the LPL. The answer against what has been the top tier team in the LPL through the first 2 splits this year, not enough on all angles. And I think that is a little unfair to Rookie. Again, someone that we have identified as being one of the key driving engines for this resurgent Invictus squad. Didn't really get a lot of help from the rest of the boys, especially not a lot of help from his other signature star player on this lineup in the Shy. And I think we need to have that conversation because that has been a continuing trend for this whole year. I think with this resurgent, with this rebrand renewal of the Invictus Gaming Championship roster, the Shy has not delivered the championship level. Meanwhile, his friend and Rookie has certainly been at that type of level for the team.
And listen, we know the Shy will have these head-scratching moments where he's getting caught out or he's engaging 1v5. But you usually have the highlight reel plays, the single-handedly win-a-game performances, and I'm not sure there's been a single one this split.
No. Yeah. Someone go find it. Go search for it because I haven't seen it yet.
Send the link.
From this, exactly, from this squad. And it is disappointing because that is one of those things that I think this team is close enough that if you can have that as one of these aspects that is able to push you, able to be a driving factor and force for your team, yeah, you're going to be in that conversation with the top teams, with the best teams within the region. But right now, you're going to be on that outside looking in, that fraud watch for me once again to try and prove yourself within the top teams when you get an answer like this from anyone's legend. And it doesn't help anymore when you're giving them a freebie in the game 2 draft by picking Annie first, having your opponent throw down double tank cards as the option, and you go, yep, give me the Ezreal. Dial up the Ezreal. Give me that little dancing guy. Let him hippity hop around. Oh, we don't have enough damage to do anything. Oh, they take a Poppy. Oh boy, even worse.
Yeah, I mean, the Poppy against an Ambessa by Ezreal already is pretty rough. And I mean, you could throw a Galio in there as a third or second and a half tank in this one. And especially that second game, there's all that. But even the more main storyline is the full comp was, okay, it's all tanks. Kill this Corki. He's all their damage. That was all IG had to do. And Hope plays it perfectly. He's protected by his squad. He should be sending this VOD to Viper to say, this is what you do on a fed Corki, my man.
I was going to say that the difference right here, he understood the task, the opportunity at hand, and what was going to be thrown at him. handles it masterclass right there in this one. So you're stepping away and feeling pretty happy for anyone's legend. This is, again, one of these answers, one of these nails that will rise up. And as the championship hammer of the LPL region, it is your job to smack them down, to put them right back into place. And that's what this game is for anyone's legend at the top of the table. Disappointing in that there wasn't more resistance. There wasn't an angle to make it interesting from the side of Invictus Gaming. I think this was a pretty set and done series even after that first game, and especially with this game 2 draft.
But now you're talking about basically 2 weeks now has been this turnaround for anyone's legend, where you're feeling more and more comfortable and kind of inserting them back into that rightful spot within the top 3 of LPL squads. And of course, we'll get more showdowns with BLG and some of the other top dogs in the LPL. But that is it today for Liga Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you. Absolutely gorgeous individuals. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll catch you on that flippity flip.